Hello everyone, my presentation about potential future development of cassava in Myanmar. At first, I would like you to introduce to the Myanmar cassava sector. Like as many Southeast Asia countries, agriculture is the most important economic sector. This sector is essential for national food security, nutrition, and livelihood of rural people in Myanmar. In 2017-18, agriculture contribute 23% of GDP and employ more than 60% of labor force. Myanmar have a diverse soils and climate. The wide range of crop production systems are located in those diverse soils and climate. More than 60 kinds of crop are grown in Myanmar. Cassava is one of them. Rice is the by far dominant crops in Myanmar. Uh, Cassava is the neglected crops, but fourth most important crop in Ayeyarwady regions after rice, pulses and maize. Cassava in Myanmar has changed from human food to a cash crops for starch productions and also byproduct for animal feeding and fish feed. In Ayeyarwady regions, mainly grown by smallholder farmer, and the majority of farmers are owning less than 10 acres. In contrast, a few company plantations are very large farms. Some of them are over 10,000 acres. For example, Hukon Valley area of northern Myanmar, Yusanab plantations is more than 10,000 acres. Cassava cultivation practices are often traditional and inefficient in smallholder farming system. Farmers usually use little agro inputs for cassava crops compared to other rice and maize. There is a limited mechanization for cassava productions. A few households use a four-wheel tractor or hand tractor, especially for land preparations. But in the rice productions, many farmers use mechanizations for land preparations, harvesting and threshing, etc. In Myanmar, most of the processing units are located in Ayeyarwady regions. Most of them produce starch. There are more than 200 processing units. The capacity is between 1 to 7 tons of starch per day. Most of the starch processing units produce 2 tons of starch per day. Little value adding is done in this processing area. Many of the units are very outdated technology, but the cassava processing employ many people of rural people, especially youth and women. Employment sites vary from 10 to 30 workers per processing units. A few processing units employ more than 100 workers. Processing units do not have access to electricity. The main power sources are diesel, rice husk, and gas. In Ayeyarwady regions, annually produce approximately 60,000 of starch ton. I'm going to present About consumption and use of cassava in Myanmar. Generally, cassava is not the staple food and main energy source of Myanmar people. Actually, cassava root can be a low-cost energy source for food and feed, as well as it can be sold to the starch factory for farmers' income. If you look at the utilization of starch, it was reported to be 17,000 tons and 12,000 tons of glucose syrups for domestic industrial use. It's imported in 2017. Myanmar processors produced cassava starch, although they were not internally marketable because of poor quality. Recent year, Myanmar imported modified starch, sweetener, and monosodium glutamate. The value about 62 million US dollar. Myanmar also imported cassava flour from cassava producing country. So I'm going to present the potential role of cassava in cassava sector in Myanmar is changing quickly. Myanmar is also sensitive to climate change effect. If you look at the monsoons, monsoon duration getting shorter and temperature is getting high in Myanmar. Cassava production will be less affected by this shorter monsoon duration and rise in temperature. Other crops have negatively impacted. The market for the cassava and its product is also growing in the country, also potential to become more profitable. Cassava will be an important crop for both security and export earning. This sector also creates many job opportunities for rural women to earn income for their families. However, cassava is still need to be acknowledged as an important crop for the livelihood of millions of Myanmar families. If you look at the future demand for cassava, domestic demand has been increasing markedly due to the food industry and other related agro-industry such as paper industry, textile industry in Myanmar. These agro-industry consuming more fresh cassava root and its product. If you look at the export demand for cassava products, not only starch, also for the chips to the neighboring countries such as China, Thailand and Bangladesh. Those neighboring countries are expected to increase considerably in the future for cassava use. Anyway, cassava sector will need to meet global gap for cassava cultivations and international standard requirements for value-added cassava product to gain their entry into export market. These sessions talk about the critical issue and future outlook. There are several government agencies related to the agriculture sector in Myanmar. So far, there is not much government engagement in cassava sector. Critical issues include no strategy for cassava sector development. Myanmar has rice sector development strategy, also power sector development strategy, but no strategy for cassava. Therefore, research and development and human resources in cassava sector, also the limited budget and weak logistic support for cassava sector. Also, in general, in sector poorly integrated value chain from cassava production to the market and trade. There's also weak in coordination and cooperation among government ministries and development agencies. Lack of regional and international cooperation for cassava sector in Myanmar. But policymakers and development assistance donors now appreciate the cassava sector in supporting poverty reduction and income generation for smallholder families and processors in Myanmar. Regarding future outlook for the cassava productions, in the short term, there's a strong potential for increasing cassava yield due to the higher cassava yields through the use of the new varieties and improved agronomic techniques and mechanizations. The production cost per ton have decreased. Many people think that there is a competition for land use with key crops such as rice and pulses with cassava. Reality is no competition for land use with key crops and cassava. There are new land available for cassava area expansion in Myanmar, especially for wasteland area. If you look at the medium term outlook, improving starch quality of cassava root and also development of the new variety suitable for the specific use, example low HCN content variety for direct eating, also the livestock integration in cassava cropping system. Integrated crop livestock system have potential for improving both profitability and sustainability for cassava production system, benefiting both local smallholder farmer and processors. For the cassava processing future outlook, in the short term, there's a strong domestic demand for cassava products such as chips, starch, sweetener, sagu, etc. Input substitution of various cassava products such as cassava flour, sono monosodium glutamate will continues. If you look at the medium-term outlook, there's a great potential for export to neighboring countries such as China and Bangladesh. Alcohol productions from the cassava will increase domestically. So at the moment in the Ayeyarwady regions, the processor produce only starch. So value can be added to native starch by a variety of follow-on processing enterprises, including quality dry starch producers, noodles, maltose producer, and candy maker, etc. Also, the starch can be sold to the larger scale processor for processing modified starch, glucose, monosodium glutamate, ethanol, bioplastic, etc. Development of cassava sector rely on government policy. Changing government policies relating to cassava is very important. Recently, government support and promote cassava production through increased loan access to cassava farmer and small and medium enterprise processor. Usually, government provide the loan to the rice farmer and only the rice processor. Government also provide the support to the local cassava processor in terms of market information technology. Also, government encourage export promotion activity, and the export control is relaxed. Also, there's a minimum regulation for the export. Local small processor will also be assisted in sourcing suitable technology based on their needs and in ensuring that their own innovation improve the quality and performance of the technology. For the future development of cassava sector, I mean the cassava production, processing, marketing, trade. There's a great potential in Myanmar because Myanmar has an ideal geographic location for serving cassava trade and market. Also, the process into other value-added products at the factory, such as animal feeds, modified starch, sweetener, drinking alcohol, and biodegradable plastic, etc., can be processed. So, but the future cassava sector will reflect current practices of cassava productions and processing, as well as market of other alternative products, so that modified starch, biodegradable plastic. For if you look at the prospects for Myanmar cassava sector, the Myanmar cassava sector in the immediate future are encouraging. At least growing and processing of cassava can become a good income source for smallholder farmer and the processor in Myanmar. It is hoped that cassava sector can receive more support from the governments, the private sector, and other international organizations and donors. But they should work together to create stable market conditions because many farmer, processor, and consumer talk about the stable market, and also to improve the cassava sector in Myanmar. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much for ACIAR for funding, and the University of Queensland and CED, DOA, DR, and the Cassava Association for their collaborations. And also thank you very much for Ayeyarwady farmers and local processor in Ayeyarwady. Thank you very much.